You don't do a divorce or an escrow appraisal on a 1004 form. You don't throw an MC addendum in there. You don't use the UAD stuff unless you explain it.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Appraiser Coach podcast. My name is Dustin Harris, and I'm the Appraiser Coach. Sponsored by a couple of great companies today. Of course, TrueTrax is helping appraisers to be better at what they do for a very reasonable fee of nothing. Check them out by going to truefootage.tech. Again, it's at truefootage.tech. OREP Insurance, of course, is the insurance that I carry and utilize, and you should be as well for your E&O. Find them at orep.org. That's OREP.org. Working from home today. Beautiful day outside. Notice there's some things going on online recently about, well, let's just put it this way, without getting into the back and forth online. It can be a cesspool, folks. There's some appraisers that feel that appraisers that are moving from lender work to non-lender work maybe, for lack of a better term, aren't worthy to be there. And though I see that sentiment, right? I guess, folks, I always look through the paradigm of abundance, right? To me, those that are upset with appraisers that are moving from lender to non-lender work, I would just remind them that there was a time that they did that as well, right? Now, are there some major differences between doing an appraisal for an AMC and doing an appraisal for an attorney client for divorce purposes? 100%, folks. And I've taught for many, many years from the stage, if you will, or online, one-on-one as I coach others, that you need to understand what you're picking up if you decide to move into that world. There's been a lot of appraisers that have moved into that world or are moving into that world over the last couple of years because, let's be honest, AMC work ain't what it used to be, right? And I know some of you are saying it never was good, Dustin. Well, I mean, I created a pretty good business, ran a pretty good business off the AMC model. So I know it's possible to do, but more and more, it's getting difficult and challenging. The amount of volume out there, the fees that are being paid, the scope of work, the scope creep, if you will, on what these lenders and other clients need has been expanding and making it more and more difficult. And many appraisers, they've gone through the ups and downs long enough to know that they would like to be more firmly planted in the non-lender world. In fact, when I attend my mastermind meetings throughout the country, this is a major topic. We talk about it, I think, every single time I'm there, and we get really deep in the weeds on how to do it, on how to change your office from being the mostly lender-based to mostly, if not all. I've got several appraiser clients who their entire 100% of their business is non-lender, and they wouldn't do it any other way. But as these changes are made, some appraisers feel, a little high and mighty, and they've been in that world for a while, and they, might review some work from a newbie that's going in that direction. And they might maybe be a little upset, or maybe even post a negative thing on Facebook about the newbies, the greenies that are coming in and just don't know what they're doing. They're wet behind the ears and they're doing things wrong. And it makes a bad name for appraisers nationwide. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that we need to be cautious. I want to share with you, when we get back from the break, some of the things that you need to be aware of if you're going to get into the non-lender world, right? Stick with me. If you think you know it all, um, stay with me anyway. Maybe you'll pick up a thing or two that might be important as you move into that world. By the way, as you move into that world, it becomes increasingly more important, in my opinion, to be fully transparent. One of the things I'm going to talk about when we get back from the break is being fully transparent in the things that you do. Folks, you always should have been supporting your work, right? But let's be honest, many appraisers did not learn the way that they should. They did things the way their mentor taught them, which, let's be honest, is not always the best. Becoming more and more important that we not only fully support, but fully understand the support that we give for our adjustments. I know that sounds silly because I know we should have been doing it all along, but folks, I'm telling you, it is very easy and simple with a great tool out there called TrueTracks. TrueTracks is created by True Footage, and it is a data science miracle. It is absolutely, if you walk through, folks, and I would just encourage you to get on truefootage.tech and find out more by watching their videos. Watch Paul walk through how to use this. And I'll be honest with you, the first time he reached out to me, I was like, okay, well, another one, another tool, another software. Within 5 minutes, I was like, where do I sign up? I mean, it is so cool. And I know you're going to feel the same way. Check it out by going to truefootage.tech. That's TECH. Again, it's truefootage.tech. OREP insurance, folks, I can't tell you enough about OREP insurance. I know it's insurance, right? Most people don't get excited like I do about insurance, but you should get excited about OREP because it is run by a team of individuals who love what they do and they love helping appraisers so much that they actually know appraisers. They understand what you need probably more than you do. Check them out by going to orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, only one camera angle today. Sorry, I'm working from home. Got the farm clothes on, headed out to the farm here in a few minutes. Do a little feeding of the animals and some other work. Folks, we're talking today, just something I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. I've noticed that more and more appraisers are moving into the world of non-lender work, and some people who have been in that world for a while, I think understandably, but not excusably, if that's a word, um, get a little jealous, maybe. I don't know. That protective is probably a better word of that industry. And I see it too often when appraisers say, you just don't know what you're doing. Just stay away from the non-lender work. Don't make a bad name for us in the non-lender world like you have for us in the AMC world, right? Some of these comments are being made. Well, folks, again, I see things through an abundance lifestyle mentality, not through scarcity. And I've for years encouraged appraisers and helped appraisers to move their business from the lender side to the non-lender side. Folks, I'm increasingly on that end as well. Last month, I did 36% non-lender work. It's not a huge focus of mine, but I certainly am working on my Google business profile. I'm certainly working on my other social media. I'm getting out there, being known as the expert. But as you get into that world, folks, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. Okay, let's start with the easy ones. This is the one that always comes up as an example. And it's sad that it has to be an example, folks, but please understand that the 1004 form, Fannie Mae guidelines, right? This is for lender work. The 1004, let me repeat that. The 1004 form is for lender work, not for non-lender work. You don't do a divorce or an escrow appraisal on a 1004 form. You don't throw an MC addendum in there. You don't use the UAD stuff unless you explain it. Okay. It's okay to use the UAD, the C1, C2, C3, Q1, Q2, Q6, whatever. It's okay to use that, but you need to explain yourself. Remember that your audience is different. Okay. Speaking of which, more so on this end, you become the expert, not the vendor. Now, stick with me. And I know some of you are going to argue and say, are you saying that the AMC is the expert? No, I'm saying that the AMC sees themselves as the expert. And you need to understand that as you work with AMCs and you work with clients, right? They think they know better than you do. And though the appraiser is always in charge of the scope of work, right? You need to be aware that you have to tiptoe a little bit when you're working with clients so that you can stay in business. When it comes to non-lender work, folks, just be the expert because you are, right? A lot of education happens on the other side of the appraisal. And you need to be aware of that. I've talked on this microphone before about the fact that when you do non-lender work, it is not the holy grail. It is not perfect, right? You have to plan to spend time on the phone explaining. I did a non-lender walkthrough yesterday, excuse me, Saturday. Yesterday was Sunday. Saturday morning, I did a non-lender appraisal inspection. And at the end of the inspection, I told the lady, the homeowner who's looking to sell their house, I said, now I'm going to send you this report in about 3 days. And when you receive it, I want you to pick up the phone and call me because it's going to be a little bit confusing. And I want to make sure that you understand the ins and outs. And folks, that's just part of the service that you're going to provide when you do non-lender work. Be prepared. Be also prepared for scope of work changes, meaning you can vary the scope of work a great deal. When I talked to this lady on the phone, I explained to her that I can do everything from an $800 full page, 30-page plus appraisal with all the bells and whistles, or I can give her a letter report. I can do a walkthrough. I can do a drive-by. I can do a desktop, right? There are so many things that I can do, and I don't have to worry about what the client wants as much as helping them to understand what it is that they need. Okay. Remember that turn times and deadlines are a little bit more flexible with this kind of work, but that doesn't mean that you can slack. Folks, you are 100% dependent upon those 5-star reviews from Google. By the way, ask for them. You're not going to get them if you don't ask for them. Okay. And there's just some other things to worry about. If you're doing the old $25 a square foot adjustment for GLA, right? First of all, you shouldn't be for AMC work. And secondly, you definitely shouldn't be for non-lender work. Okay. Tell the story. Now, I know that's the same for both sides, but let's just be honest. I think some of these disgruntled appraisers are concerned because they see appraisers treating non-lender work a lot like the lender work that they do. And the lender work that they do is, let's be honest, it's report checking. Okay. You've heard that term. It doesn't get floated around as often anymore, but it used to be a big term that people use. Right? Are you a report checker? Are you a checkbox checker? Right? And that was a negative thing. Of course it was. Where are you at on your lender work? And folks, you've got to up your game. With every appraisal that I do, I always try to see it through the eyes of, if I'm standing before the state board and have to explain this, will I have an explanation? Right? Will I not have to stand there and look like a deer in the headlights? Do I understand what I'm doing? Folks, I think that you double that when you do non-lender work, right? Because the chances of you maybe not standing before the state board, but being before a judge, jury, or being before being on the stand, right? If you do divorce work, if you do even some of the other non-lender work can end up on the stand. You can end up as an expert witness. Are you able and ready to defend yourself? Now, I say that hesitantly because I know some of my appraiser friends say, "Oh, I don't want to do non-lender work because I don't want to end up on the stand." Folks, I would not make that your decision or the reason for your decision. Okay. I've done non-lender work for years and years and years. I've been on the stand a dozen or so times, maybe 15 or so times, right? But it was always at my choice. I chose to do that. That's something I liked to do. I enjoy the expert witness stuff. If you don't want to do that, folks, you don't have to do very much of it. You might have to do a little bit, okay? And just understand that when you pick up that side, you pick up both sides of the stick, okay? But in the end, folks, I think that some of these appraisers are a little bit overblown about their disgruntledness, their anger towards individuals who are getting into this field. Folks, remember, be kind, right? Be sensitive to the fact that you were there too, right? Sometimes we get a little frustrated with new people in the industry and think, "Well, they just don't know anything." Well, neither did you at one point, right? Let's help each other. Let's assist each other. One of the great things about being in a mastermind group is, folks, you've got everything from the 30-year veteran to the 3-year veteran, okay? And the 3-year-old appraiser might be in there saying, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. And immediately, I don't have to say a thing. Immediately, someone else in the room says, "Oh, let me help you. Let me give you my templates. Let me walk you through. Let me sit with you in your office and walk." It is such a cool group of individuals in these masterminds. We become family, and we're there to help each other to be the very best that we can be. It's a win-win situation all along. By the way, speaking of win-win situations, if you have not seen the Appraiser Coach in person, I would like to invite you to the East Coast. I'm coming to you. I've been asked for many, many years, when are you going to do another workshop, Dustin? Well, here it is. Honestly, I kind of got tired of the travel. But a lot of my kids have left the house. I've got one child left, and it's time to get out and do a little bit more travel. So I'm coming to the East Coast. I'm coming specifically to Atlanta, Georgia on June 7th. Okay. We're going to be doing a two-part day. It's a Saturday, June 7th. The morning is going to be a workshop on artificial intelligence. We're going to be talking about getting really in the weeds about how to use artificial intelligence for your business, for appraisals, for your life, for your family, for your relationships. We're going to get deep in the weeds on how to prompt properly. We're not just going to be talking about ChatGPT. There are other methodologies out there as well, other machine learning models out there that we're going to be talking about. And then I'm going to buy you lunch. It's on me. Don't worry, it won't be too fancy. And then we'll come back and do a sample mastermind group in the afternoon. That's right, folks. If you want to participate in a mastermind and bring your problems to the table and be coached by myself and other people in the room, that's going to happen on June 7th in Atlanta, Georgia. There is a small fee and there are limited seats available. So please reach out to me through my website, TheAppraiserCoach.com. Again, you can reach out to TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the workshop coming to Atlanta, Georgia on June 7th. See you then.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.